Hello, guys. My name is Deekay, and today I'm going to reveal something very interesting. I'm not sure that how many of you have experienced trance or have connected with the spiritual dimension, which is beyond our normal perception. The perception which is based on our normal five senses and beyond our body, mind, and ego mechanism, we have other dimension. And in that dimension, in the dimension of spiritual or trance, or which is beyond our five senses as well, let me tell you something that I have been practicing yoga and meditation for quite some time now. And I have certain experiences which is beyond our materialistic dimension. So it has been a lot of years that I have been experiencing the aspect of our existence, which is quite strange. My experience of merging with the universe. One fine day when I was meditating, it happened that my consciousness started to go inward. I was having a kind of trance in the sense that my attention was going beyond the dimension of body and mind. So I was having this chant of Om Namah Shivaya, and I was having my concentration on the third eye, and it was late night. So I started to experience something which is beyond comprehension of our normal senses, in the sense that I started to lose the sense of my physical body. So it was as if I'm not having any sense of my physical dimension. So my consciousness was having some sort of, you can say, transformation, wherein the normal consciousness that we have conditioned through our five senses or manas or intellect. And slowly I started to have my attention going beyond this physical and mental aspect. And soon I found myself not as a physical being. I found myself as if I was not just this physical body. I felt like I have been this entire existence, and I could not differentiate myself from everything around me. So it lasted for a lot of time, maybe a couple of hours or more. So in that state of consciousness, I found myself as if a sense of equanimity, a great sense of tranquility, because there was no thought, there was no judgment of existence. I had no mental fluctuations about anything which was there. So when I could not differentiate myself with everything around me, then there was no point of having any kind of judgment, any kind of mental fluctuations. It was all equanimity, no judgment, no mental activity. So that lasted for hours, and it was kind of a blissful state, a state where I could not have any kind of memory of any kind of pleasure or any kind of pain. It was a state of consciousness where nothing was there, as in that there was no sense of good or bad, or no irritation, no agitation, no happiness, no sadness, nothing, just pure merging with everything around me. So that is one kind of experience. And later on, I started to have such experience more frequently. Then every now and then, I found myself having a lot of mystical experiences. And almost 3 or 4 years back, I started to have another experience wherein I could find that my physical body started to move beyond my activation, in the sense that when the asanas, the yoga asanas started to happen to me uh, without my own initiation of those asanas. So I started to have a lot of stretches, a lot of asanas. Even many of the asanas I were not aware of. Many of the asanas that I didn't know, even the names, those things started to happen to me. So it was kind of some sort of dimension which is not part of our ordinary day-to-day perception, the part of our ordinary experiences. So in that experience also, I was with the sense of divinity. So before that happened, I was having my meditation with the invocation of Lord Shiva. And so it has started to happen to me, and I was not scared of that. I knew whatever it is, it has to be something divine. Because I was having my thought process, I was having my attention towards the divinity itself. So there was no point having any kind of negative influences around whatever was happening through my body. And so I surrendered to that. And then after every day, I used to have this kind of thing where just by my slightest of intention, I could give the control to this divinity. And that now, whatever, any kind of asanas, any kind of stretches, starting from the neck movement to the shoulder to elbow to wrist, and all kind of joint stretches, and then asanas that we have: standing asanas, inversions, forward band, backward band, and so many other kinds of asanas which that we do in sitting posture, lying down, standing, all kind of stuff started to happen to me. And so I found myself blessed with this kind of union with the divinity that was transforming my physical dimension. And after that, I started to have certain kriyas like jal, neti, because these things I never found myself comfortable with the kriyas. But with this kind of union with the divinity, I started to have jal neti so easily. So further, I started to have other kind of experiences wherein one day I was in a swimming pool. I don't know swimming, but just having an intention of swimming, I started to swim in the pool. And that kind of strokes I didn't know, and I was not trained for that. I was not having any idea of how to do that. But it started to happen to me. And so such things were there with me for quite some time. But that is not the reason that I'm talking to you right now. I want to share something very different than all these things, the physical dimension, and then the dimension of having certain pranayamas and kriyas and all that stuff. Uh, So, on the occasion of Sri Krishna Janmashtami, uh, uh, I was just as usual. Because I write books. So, my first book is published, and I was working on the other books. So, I was working on my second book, and normally, I write on my iPad. So, on the occasion of Sri Krishna Janmashtami, my hand on iPad it started to move automatically. So my hand started to move automatically, and as if it was trying to write something. So initial few lines were like something haphazard, and then it as if it is trying to test the pen itself. And to my surprise, it started to write mantra, a shloka, you can say. And I was so surprised that now the divinity uh, is united with me in a way that it can write through me. That experience was quite amazing because I have never heard of such things. And throughout all these years, I have been a sincere seeker, and I have been doing a lot of sadhanas, yogic sadhanas myself, and but I never expected such thing to happen. When we read Patanjali Yoga Sutra, the third chapter in Patanjali Yoga Sutra is about Vibhuti Pada. And in the Vibhuti Pada, there is a mention of Siddhis. These are some spiritual uh, accomplishments, spiritual powers, you can say, that can come to a yogi. With the sadhanas, people are known to attain certain skills or certain things which are beyond or normally or ordinary perceptions, beyond our ordinary experiences. So when these things started to happen to me, I was having a lot of gratitude that finally, after so many years of practice of yoga sadhana, I started to have such experiences of beyond our ordinary perceptions. Out of all these experiences, this was the most amazing aspect, that something, some energy, some power that is not visible to me, and that spiritual power is now trying to communicate to me through my gadget, through the iPad and the pen, which I always use to draw my art or to write my books. And if any spiritual power is trying to communicate to me through that medium, then it was amazing. That was unbelievable to me. And I felt like, am I having some kind of dream? Is it really happening to me? So that was the one thing, but I let it happen to me because I read many books of spirituality of gurus, and I have come to know that these things can happen. These things are part of the journey of yoga. And so I started to take that thing as a blessing. My heart was filled with a lot of gratitude that divinity found me deserving of having such kind of experience. It was a very big thing for me that some spiritual power is trying to communicate to me is trying to write through me. And that day onwards, almost every day, that divinity, that power is communicating to me. So I'm blessed, and I feel like sharing it with you guys after getting the permission from the divinity. So let me tell you that though it would be kind of unbelievable to many, there would be a lot of people who would even doubt, or who would want not to believe these things. I would say that they are also right, because if I am also in that position, then I would also have my doubt around that. So I am also kind of having a rational attitude towards everything. I always try to find the cause and effect. I always try to look towards the root cause, or towards why something happens. And I am also having that kind of scientific attitude towards everything. But after coming to yoga, after knowing that there are dimensions which are beyond our scientific inquiries, there are dimensions which are beyond our capability of observation through our normal senses, through our scientific equipments. There are dimensions which are working in our existence, but those dimensions are not yet reachable. We are not yet that much capable scientifically to find a way of working of these spiritual these dimensions which are beyond our normal human capabilities. So when I started to have these experiences myself, I realized that there is a lot to know. There is a lot of things out there which we may never be able to experience through our ordinary perceptions of our five senses, of our mental faculties, of our intellectual faculties. So the dimension that is beyond our ordinary perception, dimension that is not visible to us, is a dimension that we all are capable of connecting. And yoga is that path, yoga is that method that can connect us with this hidden, this mysterious dimension, which is not available to our ordinary perception. Now, the reason that I am telling this to you is that it took me some time to get the permission from divinity itself that whether I should share these things. And initially, I was not having that inclination of talking about these experiences, because this is kind of very personal experiences, and many people don't believe in these these spiritual experiences, because these are not something that we all are used to of. These experiences are of the nature of kind of intangible aspects. We all are used to of looking at the world of experiences which is available to us through our perceptions. The aspect of existence, the visible aspect of existence, that is available to us through our five senses. That's something which our mind and our intellect can understand, can comprehend. We all are used to of knowing that, believing in that, understanding that. But we are not used to of comprehending, of understanding the dimension which is beyond our physical, mental dimension. So the reason that I'm sharing this with you is the bhava, is the feeling that as human beings, we are having hidden potential. Each one of us is having hidden potential, that we are not just what is apparent to our eyes. We are beyond our visible or physical dimension. And something that I experienced is beautiful. Something that I experienced is beyond the words. The state of blissfulness, the joy of connecting with higher dimensions, the kind of knowledge that we receive after connecting with higher dimension, the feeling of bliss, of that we are a living being that is quite capable of knowing, quite capable of experiencing something beyond this dimension of knowing through our senses. Now, when I reflect on these things, when I reflect on the kind of experiences that I'm going through, and when I come to know about the existence through that invisible dimension, when I come to know about the creation, the creator, creatures, through the eyes of higher dimension, then a natural bhava comes to me, which is that why is that in our day-to-day life, in our ordinary perception, we don't have access to this kind of dimension? Why this dimension is not available to everybody? Then such reflections made me to get the permission from the divinity that I am having connection with, that I am talking to. And after the permission that I can share, then I felt a great sense of responsibility, overwhelming feeling of sharing something very interesting, something very important to we as human being. With a great sense of responsibility, I want to reveal the experience that I'm having with the spiritual dimension. So the divinity can write through me, the divinity can speak through me. And when I'm having this union with higher dimension, then the kind of relation that I have right now is not something that I have ever read in anywhere, because the kind of relation that I am having with divinity is uh, of like a friend, like someone very caring, very compassionate, someone who is so loving, so kind, so intelligent, yet having no overpowering attitude, no interference with my freedom. So this higher dimension, this divinity can write through me, can talk through me, can it can do any kind of activity through my physical body, in the sense that it can dance through me, it can do yoga asana through me, yet it is not interfering. Every kind of experience that I am having is through my subtle intention. It is not interfering in my freedom. It is not trying to make me something else, someone else. It is a kind of companionship. It is a kind of partnership. It is a kind of union where I can talk, I can have a lot of conversation, I can ask so many questions, I can raise my doubts. And like guardian, this divinity is guiding me. This divinity is so compassionate, like mother. Now, if I tell you that our devas, Bhagwati, Durga herself, if I tell you that I'm communicating with Bhagwati, Ma Durga herself, then many of you would not want to believe that. You would have your doubts about how is it possible? How can Mother Durga talk to you? How can you have that kind of communication? But I leave that to you, whether you want to believe it or whether you don't want to believe it. But kind of certain proofs with me, but I not here to validate that. My objective is not to appear as someone who is having some sort of siddhis or some sort of powers. That is not my objective here. My objective here is to let you know that these divine powers are there. If anybody is having any doubt about the existence of higher dimension, the existence of divine powers, then they are free to have a conversation with me. They can ask their doubts. They can ask about my experiences, about how I am having communication with these powers. But my request is that you don't do that from the perspective of judging me, because that is not something you would want to uh, do, because my objective is not to put myself at some higher position or some to give myself as some mystical dimension. Here I want to share that certain experiences are beyond reach when we are stuck in a materialistic dimension of existence. When we align our life with materialistic experiences, with the materialistic purpose, ambition, aspirations alone, then we are going away from a different kind of possibilities that is there with all of us. So if you want to know about that, if you have a curiosity, if you have an attitude of seeker, and if you have some good questions around that, if you don't want to judge me, or if you have some real questions out of your curiosity, out of your seeking attitude, then you are welcome. Then you are welcome to ask me. Judging me will not help you in understanding this dimension. Judging will not help you in any way. But if you have the attitude of knowing something which you don't know, if you have a willingness to know about the mystical, the spiritual, the trance, and if you want to talk about that, then that would work for both of us. So I'm blessed to talk with Divinity. Especially, I have spoken spoken not as in like a face-to-face conversation. It is not that kind of conversation where I can see the divinity. Through these ordinary senses, through these ordinary eyes, I'm not able to see Ma Bhagwati Durga, Bhagwan Vasudevaya, Mahadevaya, and all of our devas, devis. Through the ordinary perception, it is not possible. For that, there is a provision of Divya Drashti. I am yet to have that. So my communication is not like as if I can see them and I can talk to them. Rather, my communication is through this mental framework where my consciousness has a way to communicate through thoughts. So within my mind, whatever the divinity want to say, want to communicate, it will appear as a thought in my mind. So that way is one kind of communication. The other kind of communication is that the divinity can write through me. So my hand will start to move, and whatever the divinity wants to communicate with me, want to write, it happens. And then the other way of is that divinity can speak through me. So I'm blessed that Ma Bhagwati Durga, she can speak through me. So she can speak as if I'm speaking, or if she wants to speak like herself, like Mother Durga, she can speak that. I mean, she can say that I am Bhagwati, and then she will speak through me, and she can speak on behalf of me also. So these are the possible ways of communication. This may look strange to many. For me also, it is a kind of quite puzzling because this is something which I never expected. It is beyond my dreams. But I have a sense of gratitude. I have a sense of feeling blessed. So I want to talk to you in this regard in a way that if this possibility is there with me, then this possibility is there with a lot of people. This kind of experience is beyond explanation. It's like we taste lemon and we want to describe that to someone who has never tasted the lemon. So still, I'm trying to tell you about these things, which is not that easy to explain. But still, let me tell you that day, Sanskrit text started to come through my hand, and it was about the purpose. It was a lot of text. Mother Durga, Bhagwan Vasudevaya, or other divine figures they have shared with me. And initially, it was like Sanskrit, and then later on that Sanskrit was also like a easier version of that was there, so that I could also understand a part of that. And then I had an intention that if the communication can happen in English or Hindi, or then it started to happen in English, Hindi. Still, many times I prefer having Sanskrit, because sometimes, I don't want to, let's say I'm discussing something very, very important. A deep conversation is happening. That time, I don't want that any kind of my own intermingling of thoughts happens in the medium of English or Hindi. Sanskrit is something that I also cannot communicate. So that is something, if that is coming, then I know that only the divinity is having the words in my consciousness. And so that is how, I do a lot of these experiments, and this is so amazing. This is so blissful. Uh, so divinity is like a guardian, like a friend, like a wise person. I mean, it's difficult to explain the way we are having union, but it is there, and it is in within the reach of so many seekers who are there on this path and who wants to experience these dimensions which are beyond our ordinary perception. So today I want to encourage you. Today I want to tell you that don't give up on your journey, on your spiritual journey. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Even these siddhis are also not the end goals. Even these amazing experiences are not the end goals. It's a part of journey that we are having. It is a different kind of experience. Still, it's an experience. It is not kevalya. It is not moksha. It is not nirvana. It is dimension of dharma. It is the dimension of something that let us know our purpose. A purpose that is beyond our normal ambitions or aspirations, which is about a deeper aspect of our place in this existence. So, during our ordinary perceptions, ordinary way of living the life, we are always behind achieving something, behind gaining something. We are always finding our place in this world in the form of our ambitions, aspirations of getting this thing or that thing or materialistic life, in a way that we want to earn money, we want to have resources, we want to acquire so many things to ease our life, to raise standard of our living. And during our ordinary life, we are always on the go. We always try to get this thing or that thing, or we end up acquiring so many things. We end up having our life running after these things. And then we get the side effects of that as well, in the form of stress, anxiety, overthinking, so many things that comes with the chase. But beyond this aspect of living a life, there is another aspect of living this life. And that aspect comes when we come to know about our purpose, which is beyond acquisitions and enjoyment of that acquisition. So, this materialistic aspect of acquiring something and enjoying that and making the purpose of life that only is something that Mother Bhagwati Durga calls prayers. She tells me that, Deekay, there are two ways of living a human life. One way of living a human life is about acquiring acquisitions and enjoy that. So the life becomes all about pleasure seeking. And how we have these pleasures is that we have known our instruments of physical body, of our mental dimension, of or manas or buddhi. So we have these panchendriyas. Then we have these, so the panchendriyas of perception and the panchendriyas of our action. So we call that as jnanendriyas and karmendriyas. And then we have manas. And then we have our buddhi, that is responsible for decision making, for judging, and for discrimination. So when our consciousness is conditioned through these elements of nature, of prakriti, then we have made our life around the pleasure which are associated with these elements of these instruments of physical body and our mind. So these instruments have learned to enjoy in their own way. So our senses, our indriyas, have its own kind of enjoyment, or manas or buddhi. So we have this physical pleasures, then we have our emotional pleasures, then we have intellectual pleasures. Then we have our tendency of ego. So, and then there are pleasures associated with our ego. We have known this. And in this dimension, the pleasure is associated with the consumption. We consume something and then we enjoy that. So we have learned to have joy through these different kind of consumptions. But we have not known the other kind of joy, which is not dependent on these acquisitions and enjoying that. So the other kind of joy, which Mother Durga Bhagwati, she always tells me, is, she calls it Sreyas. Sreyas is that aspect of human life wherein we aligned our behavior or action or karma or intention or purpose in a way that is not centered around consuming for self. When we understand the existence the way it is, when we understand that we alone are not here, when we understand that we are part of one organic unit, when we understand that we all are part of same source, when we realize that down within all of us is very same thing, when we understand that despite having different kind of appearances, despite having different color, different names, different communities, different castes, different nationality, our essence is same. If we understand that I, what you are, at the depth of our being, we are same. If we understand that we are part of that same source, if we understand that my life is not more important than your life, if I can feel you, not superficially, your superficial appearances, your outer layers of physical and mental dimension could be quite different from my outer layer of physical and mental dimension. That's where we see the differences. But if we all come to know that our innermost dimension is having the same essence of Sat Chit Anand, same essence of that one truth, that awareness of universality, that universal awareness, that sense of blissfulness that we all carry within. And we are part of that one source that is truth, conscious and blissful. And down within, we all are same. And that identification, that knowing about our own self within, that experience of purity, of peace, which is beyond our physical and mental layers. And in that identification, if we start to identify with others, knowing that the essence of other being is same Sat Chit Anand, of same truth, pure consciousness, and blissfulness. The blissfulness that is beyond all kinds of sorrow and happiness. If we all are that same existence, then this way of living life, of consuming for self, we find that as not necessary aspect of our approach towards the life. We come to know that we have a place, a very important place in this whole existence. And we realize that the potential that we all have, and we also come to know the purpose of this existence, the purpose of all these higher dimension of spiritual powers. And why do have such a system? Why do they have all these planetary systems arranged in the favor of life itself? This alignment of Earth with the Sun, this movement of Earth in a way that supports the life, this rise of Sun, the sunset, the day comes, the light comes, sunset, the light goes. How all these things are in favor of existence. And then we start to see the powers behind, the intelligence behind all these natural phenomena which are happening around us. And since our observation capacities are limited, the range that our eyes can see, or ears can hear, is limited. And through the grace of divinity, if we start to experience the trance, the spiritual dimension, if we start to connect with these higher dimensions, and when we start to have the knowledge through their grace, and we start to see this truth, the one truth, that we are part of this oneness, this one thing. When we start to have such knowledge, not just bookish knowledge of having read some words here and there, the kind of experience that gives us the knowledge, the real truth about the reality, about the ultimate reality of who we are, our real purpose. What can be our real purpose? Are we just a physical or a mental dimension? Or real essence lies somewhere else? Is this earth our real home? Or our real home lies somewhere else? When we start to know, when we start to experience the reality that we cannot comprehend through the normal senses, then through the right knowledge, we come to know that what Mother Durga Bhagwati is telling to me about Sreyas, about using the Dharma and Moksha and making that as part of our day-to-day life, how we can incorporate the Dharma and Moksha with life of Kama and Artha. So praise is about Kama and Artha, and Sreya is about Dharma and Moksha. And the way Mother Durga Bhagwati, she explains to me about the role of is that since we are part of one unit, we are part of this one system. we also have duties to act in favor of this oneness. We have great role to play in this entire existence if we realize the oneness of our existence. If we know that we are part of one unit, if we know that I am my spiritual essence, it's same as your essence, and we start to see all these resources around us as if these things are not just my own consumption. All these things are there so that the needs of everybody is taken care of. If we start to understand that there is enough for all, if we start to understand that I am enough, that you are enough, and there is enough for all, and we start to work, we start to do our karma in the favor of this whole existence, not to break the unity of this existence, not to disturb this harmony of existence, this natural dimension which is there, not to disturb that through our own selfish approach of consuming more than required, of acquiring more than required, of having attitude of possessiveness, of having attitude of greed, of jealousy, of envy, of having this attitude of superiority or inferiority. So Sreya is all about knowing the real truth of who we are, who others are, we are all seeing, and there is enough for all. And we have a role to play in this existence. And that role is beyond our own limited selfish attitude. It is about selflessness. It is about knowing your true value, knowing your true worth. And out of that contentment, out of that inner Satchit Anand, out of that inner peace, contentment, out of that joy, blissfulness, if we start to give back to the community, to the society, as a gesture of gratefulness, of receiving this kind of knowledge, this kind of bhava, this kind of intention, this kind of purpose for our life, once we know the reality, our heart is filled with thankfulness, with gratitude. We want to give back. That is Sreya. Sreya is working in the favor of existence itself. Sreya is upholding the Dharma in the sense that the Dharma of existence is that we know the nature, how it works, the laws of nature. There are various laws of life. There are laws of growth. There are laws of knowledge, wisdom. There are the most important law is the law of karma and destiny. So Mother Durga always tells me that the divinity is not there to interfere in the lives of human beings. The divinity is nothing to do with the destiny of human beings, in the sense that every human is responsible for their own destiny, because the karma becomes bhagya vidhata. Karma itself is the creator of destiny. And we do karma through our own choices, through our own intention, our own purpose that we create for ourselves. She places great importance to the purpose. So all these things which I am having communication with Mother Bhagwati Durga, Vasudevaya, Mahadevaya, other devas, devis. So I am writing these things, having a narrative around that, which is based on the truth, which is based on the ultimate reality that I came to know about. So I'm working on that, and hopefully it will come out as a book. And I invite you to communicate with me. If you have any questions, you can ask, and but don't approach me with the attitude of judging me, because that may not help you in having the knowledge, having the that may not satisfy your real seeking. So instead of doubting, how can I have the connection or communication with the higher divinity, you ask what kind of communication I'm having, what kind of questions, what kind of answers I'm having with the divinity. And through that, you enhance your knowledge, you get the answers of your questions. And a lot of these things would be coming in my book. So wait for that. And meanwhile, I would be having this kind of episodes where I would be sharing my communication with Bhagwati Durga and Bhagwan Vasudevaya. And so I wish you all a lot of peace, joy, bliss, and real knowledge.